All right, IM1 classes. Today we have another vocabulary heavy day. We are talking about complementary, supplementary, and vertical angles. So we're going to talk about the vocab for all of this, and I just need to change that because it's actually 19.2, not 16.2 in our books. But we're going to be talking about complementary, supplementary, and vertical angles, and what all those things are. Starting off, we need to talk about this word adjacent. We'll be using, talking about adjacent angles very often. So we say two angles are adjacent when they have a common side and a common vertex, and they don't overlap. All right. So basically, adjacent means next to. So here's an example of adjacent angles. A and B down here are adjacent because they share this common side and the vertex. All right. These angles, A and B, are not adjacent because there's a third angle in between them right here. So they're not next to each other, they're not adjacent. These are not adjacent because they do share a common side, but they don't share a common vertex, so not adjacent. And then the last example of not adjacent, this looks like it could be. I mean, there are two adjacent angles in this diagram, but if you're counting B as the big angle here overlapping with A, that overlap makes them not adjacent. So just next to each other, sharing the side and the vertex means they are adjacent. The next term we have is complementary. So complementary is when you have two angles that add up to 90 degrees. They can be adjacent, like this example right here. So 40 plus 50 is 90. They share a side and a vertex, so they're adjacent complementary angles. Or they don't necessarily have to be next to each other adjacent. So these, 27 plus 63 is 90. So these are also complementary. What complementary means, again, is that they add up to 90. The next term, similar to complementary, is supplementary. Two angles are supplementary when they add up to 180. So they can be adjacent. So they could be splitting a straight angle here, so a straight line. So 40 plus 140 is 180. This actually has a special name. We won't use it that much, but we would call this a linear pair. A linear pair. So a pair of angles that's on a straight line is always supplementary like that. Or just like with the complementary ones, they don't have to be adjacent. They can be separate from each other. As long as they add up to 180, they are supplementary. Then we have how to tell the difference between complementary and supplementary, how to remember which one is which. So a couple ways to think about this. Alphabetically, you can think complementary comes first and then supplementary, so 90 before 180. So complementary add to 90, supplementary adds to 180. You can think of C of complementary is for corner, right? So a corner would be at a right angle. So complementary is a corner in a right angle. S for supplementary is for straight, so a straight line. Sorry, the bell just went off, kind of surprised me right there. But anyway, you can think that when you're right, you get a complement. So a right angle, a complement is something nice, or a supplement, like a vitamin supplement, is something extra, so it's bigger. I like this one, C. Complementary, C is for corner, supplementary, S is for straight. That kind of will help you remember which is which. The last type of angle relationship we need to talk about are vertical angles. So vertical angles are angles that are across from each other when two lines intersect, when two lines cross. So the vertical in this case means they share the same vertex. So vertical means the same vertex, so the corner point, not meaning up and down. So in this diagram here, there's actually two sets of vertical angles. There's angle A and angle B are vertical, and then the other angles in here, so if we call this like C and D would also be vertical. What is also important to note about vertical angle is they are congruent. So we talked about that word. Congruent means they're equal to each other. So you can put congruency arcs in here. So A, the measure of angle A is equal to the measure of angle B. A and B are congruent. C and D would also be congruent. So I can mark that with 2 tick marks. So vertical angles, they're across from each other in a vertex, and they are equal. They are congruent. So we're going to fly through a few examples here between just identifying complementary, supplementary, vertical. So here we have two angles on a straight line. That's going to add up to 180. Straight is supplementary. All right. This one, they're across from each other on intersecting lines. They share that vertex. They are vertical angles. This one, this is a 90-degree angle. There's the corner. C is for complementary. Those are complementary. This one, it has a little tail shooting off here to kind of throw you off, but we can see these two angles here make a straight line. A and B, a straight line means supplementary, adds to 180. Again, a corner angle, so these two, the corner is complementary, adds to 90. This one has a bunch of extra lines in here, but we have the two angles sharing the same vertex. They are congruent to each other. These are vertical angles. They're across from each other on the intersecting lines. You could even ignore this line if you wanted to. And get the, sorry, Miss Tyler just walked in my room while I'm recording a video and threw me off. You can give me like 5 minutes? Cool. This one, so again, this angle here kind of throwing you off, but we have these two angles make a straight line, so that is supplementary. Again, these angles are sharing this vertex, they're across from each other, they are vertical. Last part of the lesson today is we are going to do figure out angle measures. So first, just note that if they're complementary or supplementary, so complementary, they need to add to 90. So 35 plus what equals 90, or you can just do 90 minus 35. That is equal to 55. So the measure of angle B is 55. Complementary again, so they add to 90, so you need to do 90 minus 28. That is 62. Complementary again, they add to 90, so you need to do 90 minus 48 is 42. Next example, supplementary. So remember, supplementary adds to 180. So to figure out the missing angle here, I need to do 180 minus 32. And that is 148. Supplementary again, I know this looks a little tricky because normally when we have the angles crossing, we would think they're vertical, but they're on the same side. And actually, if we maybe ignore this part here, you can tell more that they are supplementary. So they are, that's going to be 180 minus 134. That is 46. Last supplementary one, so you're going to do 180 minus 126, and that is 54. So when they're supplementary, adds to 180. Vertical angles, this one's super easy. When they're vertical, they are the same. So these angles are vertical, missing angle is 60 degrees. Vertical angles, they're the same. This angle is 76 degrees. Vertical angles, these angles are the same. This angle is 73 degrees. All right. So that's all I have for you for complementary, supplementary, and vertical. So you're going to have to identify a bunch of different angles and then find missing angle measures just like you did. Do the assignment on Edge Elastic. Make sure you email me with any questions, and we'll see you guys next time.